Blog Talk Radio.
Well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate it, man. Again, yes, we are excited, and this is the Batchelor News Radio Show. It's LA Batchelor, and thank you for joining us, and thanks to the Donaldson Files, always doing a good job and leading us in. We appreciate that. 646-929-0130, the number to get in touch with us. Press 1 to get on the line. And so I want to bring in my first guest, and it's been a while. Always good to have this young man on. He is a motivational speaker, media personality, and community activist. He's Dr. Lee Bell. And Doc, listen, I appreciate you coming on as always. Happy belated Thanksgiving to you, and I hope all is well.
Well, thank you, L.A. I truly appreciate your post-Thanksgiving greeting. I normally thank you for being in the bachelor pad. Today, I would rather be actually where you are. It's cold here.
Well, look, we're still in North Carolina, and if you're a North Carolinian, 20 degrees, 30 degrees here, they're cold. But I'm from Connecticut. You're from Flint, so we know what real cold is. So, but it's I don't want to be in Flint at this point. I know that.
Okay, and congrats to your son and his team.
Absolutely. Like I said, we're very excited about that, and we're praying for. Matter of fact, we're believing that we're coming home next week with that championship, that Super Bowl championship of our division. So we're very excited. Yes, sir. Doc, I wanted to talk to you about, to start off, I read an article on one of the black-driven websites, and it was so profound. And the article's title was, and I'm sure they didn't mean it like we're afraid, but fear of the white moderate. And it talks about how, the evolution from the times we were enslaved on this land through, the days of before the Civil War, during and after the Civil War, Jim Crow, all the way up. And I want to quote someone that you know very well and get your thoughts on the white moderate. Quote, I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride towards freedom is not the white citizens of the Ku Klux Klan, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, quote, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of action, end quote, who pretentiously believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for, quote, more convenient season, end quote. And of course, that was the late and great Dr. Martin Luther King, his letter from the Birmingham jail. And we see this in modern time, Doc, and you are the perfect person to talk about this because, there's always stand down. Nancy Pelosi, they had a chance to go after Bush for war crimes. Stand down. They have a chance to go after this liar, this racist. Stand down. They want to take it time. Oh, I'm with you. I'm for you, but I don't agree with what you want. And Dr. King was so profound and understood it way before that they prefer keeping things in order, keep it straight, keep it moving, no waves, no curves. And that's why they hate Alexander Cortez and all the new ones now, because they want to stir it up. And that's what he was talking about from Birmingham jail. So, as much as these bigoted, racist people that show their hands, and you talk about this all the time, it's the white moderates or the so-called white liberals even that are more dangerous and the ones we should fear the most.
L.A., you stole my thunder. My reaction to that is a conversation we're having in Michigan, and we have been having for a while, is the liberals that are dangerous.
Right.
They are, well, they're doing the same thing, saying it's not your time, but they also are governing in such a manner as to maintain white privilege. Most of the House members did not want to go after Trump. It took a lot of teeth pulling to get the vast majority of them to this place to go forward with this impeachment. But everything Dr. King said about the moderate is spot on. It's something that people, black people, and other people of color should take note of. It's like the late John Conyers. When President Obama was thinking about dipping his toe in the race for president, he conferred with U.S. Rep. Conyers, and he told him that everybody, meaning the vast majority of Democrats in the party, was telling him, wait, it's not your turn yet. And Rep. Conyers told him, if you wait till your time will be gone if you leave it up to them. And I believe that was the tipping point for President Obama to get in the race. You're so right when you say, or we say, they want order. Because by doing things so-called in order, it's like the restaurant, our order will never come up.
Right.
And when you go against the grain, when you step out of order, you're threatening to a group of people who want to rule by order, but they want to do things by a different beat. We keep you in order, but we can do what we want to do. We're above the law. We don't have to adhere to the Constitution. We don't believe that the Congress and the House has any constitutional right to check and balance. We want you to do things according to the Constitution. And they will go as far as to translate the Constitution in a dysfunctional manner. It's sort of like this orange being that we all know right now.
Yeah, and you know, to your point, which takes me to older blacks. One of the questions that keeps coming up, whether it be in the media, on talk shows, on this show, even I talked with Dr. Leon about it last night, and it's because it's the fact that when you said President Obama consulted with John Conyers, you know, everybody was telling them to stand down, stand down. And we have this belief that the white man is always going to come and save the day for us. We don't believe in our own. We just think that it's always going to be them that's going to save the day. And so my question to you is, with that being said, most older black people are supporting Joe Biden. And for the life of me, I think it's bigger than Biden. I just think it's this whole, it goes back to Clinton and even beyond, that the white savior is always the one that's going to be able to help us with our agenda, and we look at some of the other. Kamala Harris, say what you want, whatever. She didn't resonate at all with African Americans, and again, people can say, or politics. People say that she's a woman or whatever. I'm talking about black people, but we'll support an old white guy who's senile, clearly not right, clearly voted against the crime bill, clearly supported Clarence Thomas and against Anita Hill, and so on and so forth. But we will endorse him. Older people in general, older black people in general, but I'm sure some others. Why is that?
Well, Elliot, I'll speak to that in a minute. But to the Democrats who are listening, hear me and hear me loud. There are black folk that I've been talking to. I've had conversations today. The first words out of their mouth is, I will not vote for Joe Biden. And then after a moment, they retract that a little bit. I don't want to vote for Joe Biden. And let me interpret that. They do not want to vote for Joe Biden. He does not represent our interests. But if he is the nominee, rather than vote to give Trump back the White House, with their nose pinchers, they would vote for Biden. We're not feeling Joe Biden, myself included.
Neither am I. Neither am I. And
now to get
go ahead.
To get to the question you asked me, Joe Biden represents the past in this country. And when you talked about his mental facilities, I'm actually thinking that the powers to be may be pushing Biden because he might be losing it. Somebody can come in and work this government from behind the scenes. I'm not talking Russians, but somebody in this country, because Biden is failing mentally. And I don't think he has the stamina to even last till the election in 2020.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess the overall picture for me, Doc, I don't know if you agree, is that we have a mentality that white is right and black is wrong. White knight, Dark Vader, black sheep of the family.
Yeah.
White is good, dark is bad. And we see it in the politics. So not only I think that a lot of us don't do our homework and understand the policies, and some I mentioned, the crime bill and stuff. That was the past. I mentioned that to someone. That was the past. The blah 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 blah. But it's still part of who he was. The man. It's a lot of different things. But my point is, why are we in that mentality? Why we feel like our stuff is inferior and their stuff is superior?
Well, L.A., I coined a phrase this morning because of some political things that are going on here in Flint. And that new phrase is, we are never enough for us. We are never enough for us. That's why we cannot come together and rebuild our communities. We look in the mirror, a lot of us, especially those doing crimes, and a lot of people are not living up to their potential because when they look in the mirror in the morning, they don't like what they see. You mentioned the negativity associated with the color black. On the other side, we have white is good. We have angel food cake. And I could go on and on and on. The original script has been flipped. If you, and I'm going on hearsay because I've never been to the Vatican, but I have friends who are devout Catholic, and they have been to the Vatican in those places, and they have black representation, the Black Madonna, and other figures. Now, when Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel, that is one of the first times, if not the first time, that Jesus was depicted as a white man. And when he did that, he gave white people power to not worship the color black or black people. They couldn't have a black Jesus and hold people captive, enslave people. That wouldn't work. So that painting of the Sistine Chapel flipped the script. That's when black became negative and white became positive. Now, to young people, or people in general that I talk to, everything starts from black. Black is the beginning. The good book says that in the beginning, God said, "Let there be light." Before there was light, there was darkness. If there was no darkness, there could be no light. So it's incumbent upon us, first us, to come to the realization of what has happened down throughout the ages. We have been tricked, hoodwinked into believing a narrative of someone who stole what they have today. So when those white folk come to you, LA, and said, well, that was back then. I didn't own any slaves, yada, yada, yada. If the institutions that we interact with had not supported this new narrative from then to now, all of that would have fallen away. And why do you think colleges still teach today that Columbus discovered America? That is still being taught in our schools. Why, when you look at the globe, Africa has been downsized? And we're talking about institutions that have supported these acts of terrorism for many, many, many years. There was a story a couple weeks ago about a white college professor. He was saying that women had no business in teaching and that black people or black students were poor students. Well, if you teach them the true history, you'll never know what they can do. We tell the young people around here, those who don't like math, science, and so forth, that people who look like you developed all of this stuff. So if they could create it, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. You have students sitting in classrooms years and years upon a time being taught lies. You can't unify a lie. I was talking to a pastor friend the other day on a radio show, and he was going on and on about Africa. And I had been listening to him for over a year, so I know when he went to Africa. And I happened to hear him say what a profound effect going to Africa played on his daughter. His daughter is a high school basketball player. Well, as a result of her going to Africa, she now has her schoolmates who are primarily white in a Catholic school learning Swahili. When you turn our children on to the truth, when you can show a relevant connection between them and traditional power brokers, they get it. People, teachers, community members tell drug dealers they can't do math. They are chemists. They are bankers given the opportunity. They can run business. A lot of times, multi-million-dollar business. You go back before the state lotteries. Who ran those operations? People in our community. Right now, the hot commodity is legalized weed. Who was doing that before the government decided to dip their hands in the till? Young people who had been locked out. Young people who have been berated. Young people who have been disenfranchised. If you think about the greatness of America, all of the inventions that have come to pass, most of those inventions were created by black people. And my contention is it was left to us to make things easier because we were left to do the menial task. So why not make the best of the situation and make it easier for folks? Black people, people of color, do not get their just due because there is terror in white society of what could happen, what might happen if we gave the inventors, the leaders, their just due. We are about to go to Iowa for the Iowa caucuses. Caucusing is a Native American activity. Let me say that again. The caucus system emanates from the Native American people. And while the people are caucusing during this presidential season, will they give the Native Americans the just due for that system of elections? I think not. And one of the other big things with white folk, they don't want to even things up. They don't want to make things right because they fear that they will be dealt with the way they have dealt with others throughout history. When Nelson Mandela took over in South Africa, the outgoing president begged Nelson Mandela, do not do to us, please, what we have done to you.
Doc, you mentioned Iowa. We're talking with Dr. Lee Bell here on the Batchelor News Radio Show. You mentioned Iowa and the early states, and first, I'm confused in why Iowa and New Hampshire would be the first two states, predominantly white states. So that's one thing. And number two, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, obviously, according to the polls, are doing well in Iowa and doing well in New Hampshire. Well, surprise, surprise. But then again, there's been another discussion. I know Representative Clyburn out of South Carolina had mentioned that, again, older blacks, but I think just in general, we're very Christian people, and there's certain things that we believe and certain things that we don't believe. So is his lack of support from African Americans because of his sexuality, or is it because, he hadn't really done anything or kind of connected with, African Americans in South Bend, let alone across the country?
I think there's a force behind Buttigieg's number. I don't think he's doing that well in the polls. I think he's being played as a wild card to disrupt things. I don't see America voting for a gay person for president. That's number one. Number two, he hasn't accomplished much. He's been the mayor of a small town. And then you add on top his relationship with black people where he lives and governs. Some of the things... Just to add real quick
to that, Doc, not to cut you off, at this point, even if the polls are real, America will take their white knight, even though he might not be the traditional white knight, over Kamala Harris or Cory Booker or anybody else. And just think about that as well.
Well, that doesn't play too big for me because there is a large electorate, maybe even the moderate Democrats, they will not vote for a gay man. I bank on that. Independents will not vote for a gay man. We're not there yet. And if you listen to some of his rhetoric or some of the things that he believes, he's steeped in white privilege. He doesn't get it. He can talk about the relationship between a young black person, education, and why that young black kid won't make it in life. But he will never, ever talk about white privilege and the strings that are attached to young people's minds, ambitions, and energies. Trying to think how to phrase this. It's tiring being black. I mean, you have to be aware at all times. You have to run faster, jump higher, and see more. You have to get up early. You have to stay up late. Thank God that we had comedians like Richard Pryor, Bernie Mac, and some of those folks who can help us relieve some of the stress sometimes.
Yeah. Doc, and I think it's very insulting, not to me, per se, or my generation, but to those who, fought and struggled in the civil rights movement where they had hoses put on or dogs attacked for the gay movement and the other movements of the alternative lifestyles, that they would say that they understand or they're equally under the same attack as things in those eras. I think that's very insulting. You might have some isolated incidents of, unfortunately, gay bashing or something along those lines. Somebody gets killed because of it. But it's almost like a generation was killed because of that, because they wanted to vote, because they wanted to be equal, because they wanted to be interactive and live free. So for people who not only have that lifestyle but also believe in it, and to compare it to that, I think is insulting.
Well, I agree with you, L.A. It's been a couple years now, but I was teaching at the University of Michigan. I had several groups of young people. The first age group were a group of students who just graduated from high school like 2 weeks before the class started. And the lowest grades I had was 7th graders. The folk who hired me to come in wanted me to talk about cultural competency. And I always tell folks, I don't do that. I talk about race. So they scrambled and said, well, what are we going to call your class? I said, race, culture, and leadership. And within the confines of that title, I talked about racism. I talked about this country enslaving human beings. I talked about some of the systems that these young people could understand and talk about today. It was funny. It was classes of blacks and white students. And most of the time, the white students were very quiet. The black students were vocal. They were telling me I was wrong and I shouldn't talk about white people that way. 2 years later, 1 year later, still to the day, the students come back to me and they were like, wow, we wish we had listened to you. These things have been going on with them, but they really couldn't identify it or put a name to it. One white student, as the class went on, she basically sat right in front of me every day, and I could see the wheels turning. And one day I think we got on the subject of lawyers. And she said that her parents, both of them were lawyers. Oh, really? What are their names? She gave me the names, and come to find out, her dad was one of my lawyers. He was over the local, he still is today, over the local ACLU. And the parents had never had a conversation with her about race. Now, her mother works with a cousin of mine. And my cousin sees this young lady from time to time, and she comes and she says, the young lady loves you to death, and she says, thank you for what you was teaching back then. It's a conversation that has to be had with both white children and black children.
Doc, I wanted to ask you one last thing, and that is as we started this conversation on, white moderates, white liberals, and
you're blinking out.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
A little bit better? Okay.
Yeah.
Talk about the attack on voters' rights and civil rights. You mentioned the ACLU. I'm very familiar with them and some of their people, and I know one of the things going into these elections, and they're starting now, is trying to fight the voter suppression. What we don't understand as a people, as us, we're so caught up with Trump this and Trump that. Meanwhile, Trump and Mitch McConnell and everybody else, and at the state and local levels, the governors, are pushing this. They're gerrymandering everything. They're suppressing the vote, and they're stripping down not just civil rights but women's rights. So there's an attack there, and I think we are falling for the banana in the tailpipe. We're focusing on something that is going to take care of itself, and rather not the nuts and bolts, the grind that's really on every day that's going to hurt us on everyday life.
Well, we just had an election where the county clerk, and it's been happening for several election cycles, has been chastising, basically making our local clerk look bad. And I truly believe it's somebody in the local clerk's office that is feeding the county clerk this information. But the last election day we had, which was about 3 weeks ago, there was talk about bringing the state in to monitor the actions around absentee voting. We have passed the law that anybody can now absentee vote of voting age. The county clerk on election day was nosying around in the black precincts, which is a form of voter suppression. And he's a Democrat. So those folks who may have tendered their vote by way of absentee voting, they just didn't vote. No reason absentee. Previous, you had to go through a slew of questions as to why you didn't want to go to the polls. Will you be out of town? Are you a Jehovah's Witness? Are you over the age of 63? Well, we did away with all of that in an effort to make it easier for folks to cast their ballots. During this very election, we had new voting machines. Now, why would you introduce new voting machines during a primary election? Why wouldn't you do that during the primary or somewhere else? Why not during a school millage where very few people vote now? So this voter suppression thing is real. It always has been. And those who don't want us to cast our ballots, they found a cement barrier to stand behind and manipulate the populace. During President Obama's first term, a group of community activists, myself included, we were able to get 10,000 absentee votes cast. The election we just had 3 weeks ago, out of 76,000 registered voters, only 14,000 people voted. During election time,
is that why she lost, basically?
I think so. There's a lot of things at play there. Number one, in the history of Flint, this was the first time two black folks that went up head to head. Some of that, I believe, is the electorate did not want to vote for one black over the other. The other part was the mayor's people did not come out to vote. They thought she had it. Oh, she doesn't need our vote. She got it in the. She's got it done. And then the other piece of that was that we were being told there were two black candidates for the first time. Well, no, there weren't. There was a black lady by culture, choice, and consciousness. And then there was this brown-skinned person who was the pick of the business, the philanthropic, and the white community. This man is so crooked, L.A. He claimed last week, his third week in office, that he found $20 million. The chair of the finance committee retorted to him, "You can't find what's not lost." during the primary election season, he doctored up a tape of the late Honorable Elijah Cummings from several of the water hearings in D.C. This man doctored this tape up, commercial, to make it seem as though Representative Cummings was endorsing him. Representative Cummings got wind of it, and he called the candidate up and gave him an earful. Don't you know the weekend before the election, he ran that commercial again? And by the way, Representative Cummings did come out and write a very lengthy letter endorsing Mayor Weaver.
Well, it goes to show you, too. Go ahead.
What I predict has happened, this guy who is now front mayor, I need to start writing my movie script now. It's going to be called When Neely Meets Kilpatrick. What's going to happen is
Kilpatrick.
Yes, what's going to happen, these white folks are going to set him up and take him down so that they can regain the leadership of the city. Well,
they essentially was trying their best to do that to the former mayor. So, it goes to show you too. Just because they look like us doesn't mean they are for us. And you have to. I really believe that people have to look themselves in the mirror, Doc, and challenge themselves in terms of, what's really more important. What's your morals and values. I'm not preaching and standing, walking on water or anything. I'm just saying in general. I mean, I think that's part of the issues. At least if you're running for public office. So. And the guy that won had not finished his term as a state representative. So now we have to have another special election to fill that seat. And the first candidate to announce running for his seat is his wife. And then there are 3, possibly 4 current city council people vying for that seat, which means we will have to have, if one of those 4 is elected, we're going to have another special election. Well, the fight continues, Doc, and I'm glad you're in the trenches with us, doing what you need to do, and I appreciate you. I'm glad you're back in the fold. Be well, be safe, and we'll talk with you next week, sir.
Okay, L.A., let's bring that trophy home.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll do it.
All righty.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, L.A.
a perfect compliment, 'cause I'm a boss in my world. But when we're together, he just makes me feel like his girl. He's giving me love, so steady. He touches my heart, now I'm ready. He touches my soul and my spirit. He's giving me love, so steady. He puts every other man I've ever known to shame. I just wanna be with him, talk to him, sleep near him, walk with him, be with him. I wanna be lovers and friends and mother his children, make breakfast on Sunday and fight and then make up again. 'Cause if life's gonna be crazy anyway, I wanna do it with you. Daddy love, hey, ooh, daddy love. He's a good father, he's a good cook. He loves his basketball and he loves a good book. I'll tell you how I know he's the perfect one for me. 'Cause he's a warrior in the streets, but he's a king in the sheets. He's giving me love, so steady. He touches my heart, now I'm ready. He touches my soul and my spirit. He's giving me love, so steady. He's giving me love, so steady. He touches my soul and my spirit. Yeah. Can't stop thinking about you. Last night was crazy. Can we do it again? 6 in the morning, boy, I'm so hungry. Appetite's calling, starving still. Love me so long, you put it on me. Now I can't wait, I need a taste of you. Temperatures rise, your body is fire. So don't make me wait, I need you right here. So I'm doing night on the house. I hope you're ready. For some more like a boomerang, 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 boomerang. Don't know how.
Lay your body right here with me, 'cause you know just what I'm gonna do. I'ma whisper in your ear and say those freaky things to you. Temperature rise, your body is fire, and I'ma give you all of this love. So come here, baby, let me drive you crazy. I hope you're ready. Come and let me go for some more like that, girl. Boomerang, boomerang, boomerang. You know how to say it.
protest calling, starving for you. Love me so long, you put it on me. Now I can't wait, I need a taste of you.
I remember when I was low, down for the count was done. Yeah, no one around to pick me up. I was so old for love till you came right in and you brought me home. I ain't never felt this feeling. Ooh, a minute, yeah. It's crazy the way you got to feel my heart racing. Only love, he will build you up, break you down. Only love, I'll sacrifice for your heart. I'll fight all for love. Make your wrongs alright, 'cause I know you're mine. Only love, never share one soul, till every home. Only love, I found a home, I'm not alone. I found love in you. Yeah, took me a while, but I'm looking up, 'cause I know you love me too. 'Cause you came right in and you brought me home. I ain't never felt this feeling. Ooh, I'm in, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's crazy the way you got to feel my heart racing. Only love, he will build you up, break you down. Only love, I will sacrifice for your heart. I'll fight all for love. Make your wrongs alright, 'cause I know you're mine. Only love, never share one soul, till every home. Only love, yeah. And day to day, she's telling you, got me feeling this way. Feeling this way. Day to day, she's telling you, got me feeling this way. Turn my body so I'm all around. Me up right off the ground. I'm so glad it's you right now. All I need is crazy, so crazy. The way you got to feel my heart racing. He will build you up, break you down. Only love, yeah. I will sacrifice for your heart. I'll fight. Only love, make your wrongs alright, 'cause I know you're mine. Only love, never share one soul, till every home. Only love, only love, only love, only love, only, 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 only.
Was the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.
In my mind, I want you to be free. For all of my friends, would you listen to me? Now hear what I say. We wish you a Merry Christmas. you remember this line. Merry Christmas to all of you. And we mean it. Merry Christmas to all of you.
Merry Christmas from the Temptations.
And happy holidays to all of those out there listening. This is the Batchelor News Radio Show. LA Batchelor, we thank you for joining us. And yes, happy holidays to all of you out there from the Batchelor News Radio Network. Thanks to Dr. Lee Bell for joining us as we continue and go back to the phones and bring in my next guest. He is the executive director of the National Sports Media Association, color analyst, or I should say sideline reporter for Wake Forest football. He is Dave Goren. Dave, man, it's been a minute. You've been a busy camper, and we're just happy to have you back on, and happy holidays to you, L.A., alongside Tony, T. Mac McLean, and Reggie Howell.
Gentlemen, happy holidays to you. Always good to be with you and glad to be back.
Absolutely, man. You've been on tour. You're on a world tour. You're a rock star, man. That's what's going on with you.
Hardly.
Listen, I want to start with kind of put a wrap, and we'll see how they do 2 days after Christmas in Wake Forest in the Pinstripe Bowl against Michigan State. Michigan State has sort of a down year for their sort of standards in their conference, and I can't really put my finger on everything and what went wrong with Wake over the last 3 or 4 games where they struggled. The Syracuse game was there was injuries there that went in overtime. Then the unfortunate situation with the ball gets stripped and Syracuse, it's senior day, so they're playing a little extra harder. But Wake started off like a ball of fire. They kind of whimpered down the end. If there's one or two things you would put your finger on in terms of this football team, what would it be, and what are you expecting against Michigan State?
One would be Scotty Washington. 2 would be Sage Surratt. When you're missing 2 of the top 6 receivers in the ACC, and you could certainly argue that Sage Surratt was one of the top 2 receivers in the league, and certainly was leading the league in receiving yardage when he went down with the injury. I mean, without those 2 at Virginia Tech, at Clemson back-to-back, Wake just wasn't going to get it done. They were ahead in the second half at Virginia Tech, but once Surratt went down in that game, their offensive options were limited. And, when you can't run the ball and then your top receiver goes down, and Scotty Washington was already out, and then Kendall Hinton became the only guy, and they were keying on him. So, that was Virginia Tech, and then, Clemson. I don't know that anybody in the ACC can compete with them, other than North Carolina early in the season. Just look what happened Saturday night in Charlotte. Virginia, who won the other division, lost by 45. So, and then the Syracuse game, if you remember,
right?
When Jamie Newman was injured, and they had 5 guys go down with right knee injuries. That's something I've never seen. But when Sam Hartman came in, his first interception was a pass in the end zone to, I believe, Wade L. Jones, and that's the case of a rookie not being strong enough. The defensive back pulled the ball away from him. And it was almost a similar situation with Kendall Hinton in overtime, except the ball was in Kendall's hands when he got stripped. This time the receiver just wasn't strong enough to hold on to the ball. And, if that had been a touchdown, then that game has a different complexion. So, they beat Duke the week before, and, so theoretically could well have ended up 2-2 the last 4. And, the Virginia Tech and Clemson, those are 2 teams that happen to be playing better when they played them.
A couple of things too, and I'm sure Coach Cross is not looking for excuses. That's not what he does. I mean, you win and win. The injuries are part of the game. I get that, but a couple of things. The first thing is that this Wake team and this program and this environment and this conference is really, and I'm not making an excuse, but it's really hard to overcome certain things and certain injuries. I mean, like you said, these key players going down, that's a big thing. Hartman played really well. I mean, aside from that, he was prolific. And they had an opportunity. It's a good option to have two quarterbacks that can play like that. And he came in and played well in this particular last game. But the other part of it is, when you look at this team, was there any adjustments after? Clemson is Clemson. Virginia Tech, say what you want, they were playing better, but they're not going to beat Clemson. I mean, nobody's beating Clemson at this point. We'll see what happens in the playoffs. But this team, did he look to make adjustments when those injuries happened, and maybe try to do sort of a New England Patriots-like type of trick plays because they can't produce offense and run the ball? Did he look to make those type of adjustments?
Well, I mean, they're always looking to make adjustments. The question is, the guys who come in behind the guys who go down, what can they do? And, Wake still isn't at the point where they can just reload with another All-America as Clemson can. So it's a learning curve for the guys who are coming in behind them. And if no matter how well they practice, playing in a game is completely different. And now with the new redshirt rule where you can play up to 4 games, those last few games of the season, some of those freshmen got trial by fire at Clemson. That was their first game. But it started to pay off because Donovan Green, the freshman from Mount Airy, North Carolina, he made one catch but made a mistake in the Clemson game. And I was doing my post game in the coach's locker room afterwards, and when I was finished and wrapping up, Coach Clausen called Donovan in and said, "Give me 3 things you learned today." So always coaching, always teaching, and then Donovan made a big play against Duke and then had another big catch at Syracuse. Just wasn't enough to win, but, little by little, those guys got a little bit of playing time and started to show what they can do. And, give the coaching staff credit, and I'm sure Coach Clausen will tell you there was a little bit of luck involved, that, that was Sam Hartman's 3rd game, so he can play in the bowl game and still get a red shirt for this year, and that will pay off. They probably expect Jamie Newman to leave after next year, and then Sam Hartman can have 2 full years. Michael Kearns behind him is a pretty good quarterback and looked good in, limited mop-up duty. And, you never know who else they can bring in. So, Kenneth Walker at running back, the freshman, has 3 more years, assuming he stays healthy and doesn't play so well that he ends up getting drafted. But I think next year the big problem is going to be, replacing 3 stalwarts on the offensive line and how well they can play with the 2 guys who played and started there this year. Hello?
I'm sorry. Yep, sorry about that. And Dave, talk about this Michigan State game and the keys to that, because when you look at the end of the day, Coach Clausen, this program's going in the right direction. They're winning, they're getting the bowl games, and they're doing what they need to do. And I'm sure recruiting will reflect that. But what do they need to do, the keys to beating Michigan State?
Well, having not seen Michigan State play this year, I don't know that I can answer that honestly. I think every coach will tell you we need to play our game. Now, the wild card in that is you now have 2.5 weeks to prepare for that game. They're not practicing every day. They'll be lucky to get, I think Coach Clausen said, 10 practices in between now and the bowl game. That's important for the younger guys, obviously, because the coaches will get a look at them. With the moved up signing day, coaches have all been out on the road recruiting. In fact, we got back from Syracuse a week ago, Saturday night around 10:30 at night, and one of the offensive coaches was getting in his car next to mine to go home, and I said, "Are you guys out on the road this week?" He said, "I'm back on a plane tomorrow morning for D.C." So, no rest for the weary. They're going to try to bring in some more talent. And, I think maybe that's the next step that this program has to make, is to find that depth. So when starters, frontline guys go down, there is somebody who can play behind them.
Yeah, and I think that's where they're going. And there's a debate about these bowl games as it relates to, the Christmas vacation or winter vacation, depending upon what people call it, and how teams can prepare or not prepare because of that. So that's the debate that goes on. Before I go to T-Mac, I want to ask you about the basketball team. And, I've heard some stuff, Dave, I don't know if you have, of the criticism of Danny Manning in recruiting. And when you look at their season so far, after 10 games, it's only 10 games. Folks listening, Wake Forest fans, relax. They're 5-5. But, I'm trying to figure out what type of team this is. But what I will say, and what I've seen in a few games, the Penn State game I saw the Arizona game, and I saw this last game against NC State, is that it's not so much the size that they lack, it's the defensive prowess inside. NC State was scoring inside. I just think that maybe defensively their issue is inside and rebounding, and being consistent in terms of scoring. What's your thoughts with this team 10 games into the year?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think they need some bulk inside to help Olivier Sarr. He's more of a finesse player, but he's done pretty well this season. He's had a couple double-doubles. And then it seems they go as Brandon Childress goes, and he had the offer at Penn State and didn't play well, and they got blown out, and then had 30 points against NC State. And the difference in that game really was that NC State made 3 more three-pointers than Wake did, and that was the margin of victory. Look at the stats. I didn't watch the game, but both teams shot over 50% from three. And so, I think NC State made 11 threes and Wake made 8. And there was your 9 points right there. So I think you're right. They need better, stronger defensive play. And at times the three-point line gets away from them on defense. So if a team is not making their threes, then they have a chance. But if they are, as NC State was, then they're going to have issues. Rebounding, they work hard, but I think they need another big body inside. The freshman Odi Aguama, I should say, has shown some spark and some spurts, but he can't do it alone, nor can Olivier Sarr. I think the guys who really need to, be the leaders, and when I say leaders, I mean score points and grab rebounds. Somebody like a Sean D. Brown, who has now been there several years. And then some of these new players have to step in and step up. So recruiting, I think, is where that's going to happen and needs to happen.
Yeah, and that's been sort of the if I've heard any criticism, is that. And, in terms of rotation, too, on the perimeter defense, you're right, man. They got to get out and extend the defense and play better. And they're streaky shooters with Childress and everybody. They're either it's been feast or famine, especially down the stretch of the State game. They got hot, but it was just too late. And they're fouling and shooting, and and then at that point,
right,
it was too late. But they really have to be able to make those perimeter shots, because they, like you said, what they lack inside, they're going to have to be able to do on the perimeter. Talking with Dave Goren, of course, here on the Batchelor News Radio Show. You have a question, hit us up on Facebook at Pad Nation, on Twitter at Pad Nation 2. You can follow us and watch us on Pad Nation on Facebook, or hit us at 646-929-0130, the number to get in touch with you. Just so, Reggie, come back on the line. I'll go to T-Mac McLean. Good evening. What say you, sir?
Hey, guys. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Tony.
Good, man. For Wake football, even with the the way it ended, you can see where the meter is pointing up, and you talked about how the coaches are already beating the bushes in regards to recruiting. Do you feel like that with a couple of decent classes and with the experience that this team could win, maybe could get to an ACC championship game within, say, a year or two?
Well, part of that would be Clemson having an off year, and that team is not only great starters, but their second and third teams, I think, could compete for the division championship. If you wiped out all their starters, and I'm not being facetious when I say this, I think their second string could be very competitive in the league. Mm-hmm. So, Coach Sweeney has done a great job loading that program and keeping kids happy. And, 1 week, 111 kids saw some action, at least one play earlier in the season. So, that gives kids who aren't starting or playing a lot at least something to look forward to. And he looks for opportunities to get those guys in there. So anyway, but Wake has to, it's not everybody can play at Wake Forest. You have to be willing to be a student first and foremost. As Coach Clausen's pointed out a couple times coming down the stretch, it's like, our kids go to school. They actually have to go to class. They're, I think it was Joe Burrows talked about, all his classes are online, and he stays at the football facility all day and just does online classes. It's like, Wake students don't have that option.
Mm-hmm. And just one other thing, just to throw off just a little curveball here for in regards to like baseball. You saw the Hall of Fame voting this weekend. Were you surprised Marvin Miller got in?
Not really. I think a lot of people have been promoting his candidacy and saying it was the right thing to do, and I think enough people listened and bought into it that did not really surprise me at all. And it's just so hard to tell because you don't know how the voting members change year to year. There are some longtime baseball writers who have had their votes taken away because they're no longer working. Several of them stay very much in touch with the game, though. And, some of the newer, the whole business is getting younger the way, newspapers have to get cheaper, so they lay off the experienced writers and hire cheaper, younger. And I think that has affected the voting a lot because the younger people might not remember some of these guys.
You were leading me to where I was going to go next because the old grizzled veterans, so to speak, aren't there anymore. And they had their ways of voting too. I think Simmons is a perfect example. Right. I know that it took him 25 years to get in, but is it even worse now because you literally got these kids that probably wouldn't know Ted Simmons from Andrelson Simmons in a sense.
Right. I think that's a huge part of it. Yes. You could probably, and then I think the question is a Hall of Fame for the great elite players or the very good? And I know a lot of people didn't like Harold Baines getting in because they said, he built up his numbers over, he was durable, so he played a lot, but he DH'd a lot. And so he had hits and a lot of home runs. And, does it Don Mattingly belong in? Does, Dwight Evans was on the ballot this year, Larry Walker, who among them, is a great, as a Red Sox fan, I was a big Dwight Evans fan, but I don't know that I could sit here today and tell you he was that good that he belongs in the Hall of Fame. And I think you could do that with a bunch of the guys who are on that ballot.
Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
I want to go to my good friend Reggie Howell in Richmond, Virginia. Good evening, Reg.
Happy holidays, gentlemen. Mr. Goren, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Clemson just scored on UVA again, so I guess the game's still going on. But that's another $1 million question. But, Mr. Goren, when I see the monopoly money comes to the NCAA playoffs. I don't want to hear this. You're getting a fair education. Forbes magazine points out that the formula being used for the Power 5 plus the Big East is divided between $24 to $26 million. Now, here's the caveat, sir. The 4 schools that are in the playoff, NCAA pays for their expenses to the tune of $2.4 to $2.5 million. So tell me again about how you're getting a fair education when we see who's the cash cow. Moo!
Well, then you probably have to do the expenses on what it costs to play in those games and see how much is left. And, you know, are you bringing the band? Are you bringing the cheerleaders? You have to pay for, hotels for all of them and flights and bus transportation and food. And believe it or not, there's probably not too much money left after that. And we're making plans for the Pinstripe Bowl now, and my son, who's a freshman at NC State, my wife and I promised him as I don't know if this is a high school graduation gift or a holiday gift, that he could go to Wake's bowl game. And of course, New York's not cheap, so I'm trying to see if he can stay with me in the room. But a flight to New York booked on less than 3 weeks' notice is not cheap. So multiply that by all the people, all the administration who goes to the game, all the coaches, the coaching staff, the players, the student managers, the athletic trainers, the medical staff. I mean, you add that up, and it's pretty steep. So I would like to see how much money is left over before I criticize.
In all due respect, sir, when we see the TV contracts of the NFL, NBA, and sports, we'll just agree to disagree because that money is already planted out there, and they know they're getting a great investment coming in. And this is mad money been coming over the years. But happy holidays, my friend. Take care.
Same to you.
Dave, I got a question that came off the internet. I think it's a follow-up to what Tony asked, and it deals with the Hall of Fame. But they said not just the Baseball Hall of Fame, but other Hall of Fames. When you have writers that are 35 and younger, does that water down the Hall of Fame when they don't know some of these great players? The NFL is doing this, 100 great players or whatever, and Tony talks about baseball. You could go on with hockey and the NBA as well. But if these guys are 35, 38, 40, let's say 40 and younger, they don't, they know, they think sports started when ESPN started in 1979. So does that water down the Hall of Fame because they don't know and even do the research of those great players?
Well, that's the point right there, what you said last. If they are willing to do the research and spend the time, then I don't have any problem with them. And I don't like to throw, a blanket over a whole generation just because they're a certain age, or some who are very diligent about it and put the time in,
sure.
And I would respect their opinion if they did that. And I would think there aren't that many who don't pay attention and don't take it seriously. So, but it could have an effect, is what I said. And, you would hope it doesn't, but, I wouldn't be surprised if there are some guys who've done it for so long where they just mail it in as well. So,
but let me ask you though. But what the protocol and the process of when you guys pick people, and do you have younger people? And I get the whole age thing, but I'm just saying you have younger people on your committee that help choose who you're going to pick in your Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, for the finalists, I go to all my current Hall of Famers and say, "Give me some names. Who do you like? Who should be in?" And then I take all those names and I say, okay, give me top 10. And the most with the top 10 go on the final ballot. And then it's our entire membership who gets to vote on that. So that can still have, the younger members could still, their vote could have an effect on who gets in. But I think we try to, look for some, especially some of the deceased finalists who probably deserve to be in. We'll say, okay, we can have one done posthumously and one one living sportscaster, one posthumous writer, and one living writer, and we try to make it as fair as we possibly can. I don't think there is any one system that is perfect. I think that's what you strive for, knowing that you can't be perfect.
Yeah, and just to your point, in regards to how you do it, and on the broadcasting side, ask how many people know that are younger who have done the research who Vince Scully was. Vince Scully, oh my God, I love Vince Scully. I wouldn't even. I mean, he wasn't even broadcasting any of the teams that I like, but I love Vince Scully, right? Was just the epitome of greatness, just the style. You can listen to him on radio and you can see the whole game. That's how he painted the picture. He was great. But and then on the other side, in terms of the players, I may tend to agree with Harold Baines not being in, but Dewey Evans should have been in. I'm a Yankee fan. Dewey Evans should have been in a long time ago, in my opinion. So I mean, it's the criteria.
Funny how two people can see it completely different ways. I mean, I used to watch every single Red Sox game, and I remember his struggles very well, as much as I remember his heroics in Game 6 of that World Series in '75, or his arm in right field, which was probably the best in the league for 8 to 10 years.
Yeah. So it's right, and if you're a fan of the game, you set aside. Okay, well, and I'm speaking in terms of if I had to vote like some of these writers and stuff, you set aside the Homer stuff and you look at the body of work. And like I said, I'm a Yankee fan, but I love Dewey Evans, the way he played, his intensity. That arm would you couldn't run from first to second. If you got a single, you got a single. You weren't stretching it to a double because you get thrown out.
Correct.
Or at home. So that's the difference. Final question for you. I want to switch to the Hurricanes. And you look at this team after, 30 games or so. I was looking at some of their stats. I mean, offensively, they're in the top 10. I think in the conference, they beat the Wild. They look good. But, again, it goes back to our conversation. I looked at in 12 games this year, where they scored 2 or fewer, they're 3-9. Their power play is just abysmal, like 10%, like quarter 38. But when they score over that, their power play is almost 38%, and they're like undefeated. So assess this team again when you look at them. I mean, obviously Boston's very good again in their division, and you look at from top to bottom in the conference. But assess this team after a quarter of the games, and to me again it comes back to if they score more, they win. They score less, 2 or less, then they're struggling like they have in the past.
Yeah, and I think they've done better scoring. I think for me, it's still a little worried about the goaltending. And the goaltending can win you 2-1, 2-0 games. And as I look at, yes, Boston is really good. Washington's really good. I think the Islanders have played really well. So I think if you're the Hurricanes, you're looking to get into that third spot in the Metropolitan or a wild card, and maybe put up a couple more points than you did last year. But it seems like everybody in the Eastern Conference is pretty good. Buffalo's good, Toronto's fair, Montreal's played well, Philly's played much better, Pittsburgh is good. So there were no really easy touches aside maybe from the Red Wings. And who else? When I said Buffalo's good, Toronto, Montreal, Boston. Tampa Bay is good. Florida's much improved, although the Hurricanes have beaten them twice.
You think the East is better this year than last year?
I think the East is much better.
Yeah.
I think the East is the better conference this year for the first time in a while. Interested to see Hurricanes go out to Western Canada this week, right?
Right.
This week or next. So that'll tell us a lot.
Well, it's early, and I agree with you. And the young man, the names escaped me. I saw in 2 games. Andre, I can't remember his last name. Help me. It's been playing really, really well. and they're going to need that. And they got the young talent in there. It's just that veteran leadership that they're going to need. And the goaltending is always, but see, the goaltending hasn't always been the issue. It's just been the issue of helping the goalie by scoring some goals. And then that's where they are. So we'll see what happens. But
one of the things I was looking at today is, if you trade, if they had gotten 3 of their losses to overtime, just those 3 more points would put them third in the division, and closer to the Islanders. So, maybe that's something they need to work at, is down a goal in the third period, or get that tying goal and at least get the 1 point out of it.
Yeah, but I think they have the issue like Wake in a certain extent. They need a little more depth, especially if they're trying to, on the power play, because that's the key. Just look at their stats, man. When they're good on the power play, they win. If they struggle in scoring and producing on a power play, then they lose. It's real simple, and they're 12 points behind right now. But we'll see what happens. Dave, as always, my friend, I appreciate you. I'm sure I'll talk to you before Christmas, but thank you so much this evening, sir.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Dave Goren, of course, the executive director of the National Sports Media Association. Take a quick break. Get to Mike Patton on the Batchelor News Radio Show.
Hello? I would like to speak to Bonquisha. Otis? Yes, this is Otis. Well, tell her she is going to hear me one way or the other. Either she steps outside, or either she's going to hear me through the door. Bonquisha, ever since you and I stopped seeing each other, I ain't been doing nothing but thinking. I ain't been able to sleep. I ain't been able to do nothing that required you being in it. Baby, I know that we've had rough times before, but we got through it. Like the time all the power went off in the house, and we had to finish cooking the collard greens on the half heater, but we did it together. All the time that the froster didn't work on the microwave, and the turkey was still frozen. Remember, we had to get chicken down from Larry's Long Neck Leadwater Late Night Chicken House. Remember? But now I don't have you, and that's why I'm having these Christmas blues. Yes, Christmas blues. Sometimes I wonder, was it worth it? Waking up early in the morning to go to the Little Champ to get you 3 pickled eggs, some Lay's plain potato chips, and a Coca-Cola. I said, self, was it worth it? And myself answered back, yes, it was real worth it. I miss you, and I love you so much. I'll do anything to make you mine again. I'm also lonely, so sad and blue. I'm spending Christmas Day without you. I'm very, very sad and lonely. But anyway, let me tell you something. I do have you and the kids a present this year. I had y'all a present last year, but my alternator broke in my truck, and I need my truck for to go to work. And so I had to take the receipt, take all the presents back, and fix my alternator. But I do got you a present this year. I didn't have time to wrap it up. I got it in some brown pick and save bags. Also, I got some wine. I got some cold duck, baby. You need to open the door. He quacking. I remember one Christmas, maybe 3 Christmases ago, we ran out of ham, and you said you wanted another ham. But you really didn't say you wanted another ham. I just figured that's what you wanted. So they had a 12 dozen crab special, so I got you a dozen of big blue crabs. I mean, I'm just saying, I just hope this Christmas is a little different. I just want a little turkey, a little that sweet, sweet plum dressing. I just want the kids to be happy. And, Bonquisha, I know when we got married, I vowed to give you diamonds and pearls. But when I hurt my back at work, my workman's comp could only get zirconia and Gannon necklaces. I also said that when we moved out of your mama's house, we were going to move into a place double her size. That's why I got 2 trailers and put them together. Yes, baby, double wide. All those things I done for you and the kids, but I still have these Christmas blues because I'm spending Christmas out the kids and you. I love you, Bonquisha, I love you. But you know what? One thing I want to tell you this year about Christmas. Last year, when you served up all the turkey and all of the trimmings and everything, when the cranberry dressing got round to me, there was none left. So please, I hope you have 2 cans of cranberry dressing in there because I love that cranberry sauce. Please, thank you, and please open the door, baby. It's cold.
Welcome back to the Batchelor News Radio Show. I had to play Bonquisha. If you've never heard that before, that's your first time hearing it as we get ready for the holidays. Happy holidays to those listening out there. Want to bring in my next guest so you can hear him chuckling in the background and some noise in the background. I don't know where it's coming from. We'll try to fix that. He is, of course, from sportsawakening.com. He is a general and, of course, the columnist for the Nashville Voice. He is Mike Patton. And Mike, happy holidays to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. You're probably hearing the roadways. I'm traveling the roadways right now as I come through for this call.
Okay. Well, you be careful. But I had to play some Bumquisha because there's some Christmas blues right now going on with a few teams in the NFL and the college playoffs. Let's get to the college playoffs real quick. And my colleagues and good friends and co-host Tony T. Mac McClain's on the line and Reggie Howell. Mike, let's get to the college playoffs. First of all, Clemson, I guess Dalbo is doing this whole psychological thing with his team. Look, they won the title last year. They blew the doors off Alabama. They're undefeated. They're beating whoever's in front of them, albeit a very weak conference. They're winning. They beat Virginia Saturday by, 50 points, 40-some odd points. So make the case for them that they should be number one or they shouldn't. And what do you think of the four teams that are chosen?
Well, I'll make the case that they shouldn't be number one. They played pretty lackluster the entire season. No fault of theirs, but the ACC wasn't exactly the toughest thing in the world, and it just seemed like they sputtered at times this year. That's not becoming of a number one team. I don't think LSU sputtered one time. I don't think, I don't think Oklahoma did either.
LSU defense wasn't that good though this year. I mean, especially in some games.
Well, considering what their ilk is, I would say yeah, but considering these other teams that are in there, I think you could say they're a pretty good defense. They made plays when they had to. Is the thing with that defense. You'd rather have a defense that can make plays to win games, other than just being a stalwart defense that's just there. I'd rather have playmakers because that changes ball games. So Oklahoma did have their moments. I did say Oklahoma didn't stumble, but yeah, they did have their moments, especially against Baylor 2 times. Let's see, Ohio State, yeah, they pretty much steamrolled people for the most part until Wisconsin. So Clemson is where they're supposed to be. We'll see if they can turn the switch on when it comes to playoff time. If not, then they were who we thought they were, which is a team that had a lackluster year in terms of where they're supposed to.
And you know what, Mike? This is two points I want you to address real quick. The first point is, it does. Don't you think? I guess this is a question. Don't you think it does make a difference in the seeding in those four? Because essentially, most people would agree that Oklahoma is the weakest of the four, and if LSU is number one, Clemson's got to play a very good Ohio State team. Now, the last time they played, Clemson destroyed them. But seeding does make a difference, I guess, to the point of Dabo Swinney. And then the other part of it, this might be one of the rare years that they got it right with the top 4 teams, because Utah got the doors blown off by Oregon, and I know you were rooting for them and thought that they would win, but I don't know what happened there. But it seems as though this year the top 4 teams that should be there, you could make a case that they got it right.
Well, you definitely can make a case they got it right. I mean, just looking at the whole format scenario, I didn't think that Utah would lose like that. I was hoping for a little helter skelter. I definitely would say that they got it right. The seeding does matter as to if you win it or not, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing a little Ohio State and Clemson, because I think that a little bit of revenge is going to happen this year when it comes to Ohio State and Clemson. I think Ohio State got that wake-up call they needed. Because they pretty much had it pretty easy the entire year in terms of, not saying they didn't play hard or anything like that, but just saying that they came in and handled business when they had to handle business. So I think that wake-up call maybe allowed them to refocus. That time off will allow Justin Fields to get himself, a little bit more healthy. And Ohio State is definitely going to be the force to be reckoned with that we think they are.
Talking with Mike Patton, of course, on the Batchelor News Radio Show. Mike, it's just before we go back to the top 4 teams, and T and Reggie might get into detail with you. I want to look at some of the other teams and the way they finished. Georgia, look, they had the injuries, but I don't think anybody on this broadcast right now thought Georgia was going to beat LSU. Plain and simple. Brown struggled. And you and I have been going back and forth about Kirby, and if he's the right guy, and so we did all that. Oregon played well. They played Wisconsin. Wisconsin was good for a while against Ohio State. Then they struggled the second half. So is there any team that's outside of there? Florida's playing well. They get Virginia. Any team outside of that top 4 that you can make a case for that could have been in that top 4 in the way they're playing right now?
I cannot make a case for anybody outside of the top 4, honestly. They got it exactly right. And let me give you a little nugget about Georgia that you might not know.
Right.
Was at Georgia last year, in that he was the backup quarterback, made it look like he was just some guy that could just run around, as opposed to a guy that can throw the football. But I digress. But did you know that they actually recruited Cam Newton to be a tight end? Did you know that Georgia actually recruited Lamar Jackson to be a safety? So that tells you all you need to know about what Georgia thinks about black quarterbacks in that position. Besides DJ Shockley, who else has played quarterback that's been black at the University of Georgia?
Wow.
So, yeah.
Just think about if they were, those guys went there and where they would be. Lamar Jackson, who we'll talk about a little bit later, that where they were if Georgia, if they went to that program and tried to play those positions, that would be a totally different scenario in those programs and with those players. Talking with Mike Patton here on the Batchelor News Radio Show, 646-929-0130, the number to get in touch with us. Press 1 to get on the line. Pat Nation, if you have a question, hit us up on Facebook at Pat Nation, Pat Nation 2 at Twitter, on LinkedIn as well. With that, I go to my good friend Reggie Howell.
General, what's happening, General?
Well, what's going on, man? I'm pretty sure that 49ers fans still dancing the jig in New Orleans right now.
Hey, Mike, Clemson just scored on Virginia again, man. So once again, we see the incompetence of UVA. But I know you hyped up, but how in the ham sandwich does Lane Kiffin get not 1, not 2, not 3, but a 5th coaching job in the follow-up, if I may?
He knows where Jimmy Hoffa's buried. That's all I've got. That's all I've got. And he's got dirt on somebody there. That's it. That's all I've got. But he kind of fits in at Ole Miss, to be honest. He really kind of fits in. I went down there one time, and anytime you can walk to a stadium and you can just smell the beer before you even get, literally, maybe 30 feet from the stadium,
you see old Colonel,
right
that old mascot they got. By the time they put his ass out the factory. I'm sorry, lady, for the language, but I'm sorry, Ole Miss. You couldn't give me a pass to that place. No, but continue, General. Go ahead.
No, I went to see my cousin play at that point in time, and they beat Ole Miss on Ole Miss's homecoming. So that was fun. But yeah. But honestly, I can't explain it. I can't explain the phenomenon behind him. I know he's a good offensive mind in terms of offensive coordinator, but he's an offensive coordinator. I mean, he's a head coach in title, but he's really just a good offensive coordinator. That's all he is to me. That's all he'll ever be to me. I don't think he'll be a great head coach. No, he can recruit people too, but he just can't keep himself out the headlines. He just can't help himself. He can't help himself. He's gonna do something at Ole Miss that's gonna make y'all scratch your head at least 3 times before the season starts, probably.
And he's the version of Donald Trump. We just talked about the NBA. It was kind of crazy how the King. Oh yeah, and shout out to Al Lavis and homeboy for getting his high school gym named after him. So way to go, Papa Chuck. But it really kind of makes me scratch my head where the Lakers right now have a nice starting five, but the bench is a little weak. Compare that bench to the Clippers, and also there's a certain team in Philadelphia 76ers. When is that individual that plays center going to realize that he's a man child? He needs to get his butt down the post, stop playing like Bill Russell, play like Wilt Chamberlain, and start dominating. Because I know LA is pretty strong, but how in the hamstrings should be taking jumpers? Oh, and by the way, the Washington Wizards, they are who I knew they were. This minus Brokeback Mountain that's playing with the Lakers. That's a whole other 2-hour show. But I'm saying, how are you going to have 145 points and still lose the game? Washington Wizards. Give me a break.
Wizards are good offensively. They just can't guard anybody. Defense is optional. That was against the sign when they entered the end of this season. But as far as the Lakers, I like the Lakers' chemistry. The Lakers' bench is more role players and guys with energy and guys that play good defense. The Clippers by far have the better bench because they have two of the top bench scorers in the NBA that come in off their bench and any night can give you 20 to 30 points in Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams. So in that aspect, the Clippers still have the advantage. The Clippers just got to build chemistry because right now their chemistry was pretty jacked up, especially after that beatdown they took in Milwaukee. So, that'll be an interesting thing to watch the rest of the season because, they're going to do load management with Kawhi the rest of the year. I don't think Paul George is really going to participate in load management, but I know Kawhi is, definitely because of his knee. And I will say, you did talk about Dwight Howard.
Yeah, Brokeback Mountain. I'm sorry.
I would say this. I can't really talk about Dwight Howard because he actually is playing well for the Lakers off the bench. So, he actually is doing what I thought he would do for them this year because I actually took time to listen to him this offseason, which I know that can be a bad thing. But I took time to listen to him and listen to his words and how he was talking, the things he was doing to work out this offseason. I don't know if you knew or not, but he actually went back home and was working out at his dad's farm in Georgia and actually out there in the field doing work. Not out there working out, actually doing work. So talked about a lot of that and a lot of different things and basically humbling himself and knowing that he needs to accept the role that he has and do that. And now he's probably playing in some of the best basketball he's played in like 5 years.
So, Mike, real quick, I got to take a shot at T-Mac's Knicks because me being a lifelong Bullets, that's just what we do. I'm sad that they fired the head coach. But what are the ham sandwich Houston Rockets thinking about telling the NBA we need to replay 7 minutes of the game? They was up by 13 and got beat because they didn't like that the Beard dunked the ball and it came out and wasn't counted. That's it for me.
Well, I will say this. I understand why they challenged it, but I knew they were going to lose it from the jump. But I understand why they challenged it, though, because essentially if they get those 2 points, they win the game. Sure, they blew a lead or whatever they did, but those 2 points cost them the game. And that actually was a dunk. And if the official would have paid attention, it would have been a dunk. But I digress. They had plenty of other chances to win it after that, and they didn't. So there you go. Egg on your face, you move forward. Play a little defense.
Yeah.
So.
T-Mac.
I was looking forward to T-Mac tonight. Hey.
T, over there.
Hey, Mike, the Knicks, man. You said about the Knicks.
Oh, man, the bridge is over.
Put it up. I think we'll get T back on in a second here. Surprised that the Knicks made the move that they did, though, Mike, this early in the year?
No, I'm not surprised at all because they are the Knicks. And I'm not surprised at all because, man, I don't know. I'm just not surprised because the rumors were out there, and I was like, yeah, well, there's smoke, there's fire. And sure enough, that bomb went off. But the thing I want to say about Fizdale, though, I'm not, cracking on his coaching style or anything like that. What I want to say is, can he get a better consultant group around him? Can he just have someone tell him, no, you don't need to take this job. No, leave this job alone. Can his wife tell him, please leave that job alone? Will he listen to his wife? Well, it's something I'm just like, God, Stop taking these bad jobs.
But I don't. I think it starts with the ownership, and T's on it. He can talk better about the Knicks than I can. But they bring in this. They bring in. Hold on. Well, hold on. Okay. In any event, they bring in new coaching. They change the style. They bring in different players, and they got 4 wins. Like it's a curse with this team now. I don't get it. Like they can't get out of their own way. But the common denominator, like you guys say about the Cowboys and everything, is the ownership. It starts there. Seems to be the problem. They've changed everything every year, and they're still very, very bad. I feel bad for them. I'm a Sixer fan. I feel bad for the Knicks. I really do. They're always my second team, if you will, and they just can't get out of their own way. Mike, as I go to T-Mac.
I got nothing.
I do. I don't. For you.
You go ahead.
No, I'm serious. I got something for you, man.
It's probably something I've already heard before, but go ahead.
No, I got something for you, and it's not something you've heard before. It's gonna be like, look, I don't know if you heard on the line earlier when I was talking about Georgia. Did you hear that?
About who?
About Georgia.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
About the black quarterbacks, yeah.
Yeah, that was quite funny to me. But one thing I do have is that, man, the New Orleans Saints right now, they got to be seeing nightmares they got to be seeing their nightmares in black and white right now, which is like the referee stripes.
Yeah. Well, but you know what? In a game like that, it's literally well, and it's last team with the ball, so you got to be the last team with the ball, so you get the chance to do something with that. But in that same vein, who is the best team in the NFC? If you put a gun to your head right now,
that'd be the 49ers right now to me.
Clearly, or just by percentage points?
No, I would really say the 49ers right now, because the thing I always questioned about the 49ers was their receiving game and their quarterback. In these last 3 games, their quarterback has answered some questions. Jimmy G has answered some questions, especially against the Saints. He's answered some questions because the interception wasn't his fault. The ball went right through the hands of Emmanuel Sanders. And, he's basically – George Kittle has been hobbled for about 3 weeks now, 3 or 4 weeks, but he's still playing. And even with that, he still almost threw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns yesterday. I mean, the game against Baltimore, he throws on the 4th down, throws a moonshot to Deebo Samuel, who goes up and muscles Marcus Peters out the way for a touchdown. I mean, he's definitely shown me some things to where you can really consider them the team that's to look out for in the NFC.
Yeah, I still, even with the loss last night, I still think Seattle's got something, especially since they've beat them. But again, we'll see how it plays itself out.
I still think Seattle does too. You forget that I picked Seattle to go to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said Seattle, Houston, if I remember correctly.
No. It was Seattle and Kansas City.
Oh, scale 6. Okay. I knew you had the brother quarterback in there somewhere along the way. But in that same vein, you were talking about Lane Kiffin before, and by the way, the over/under is 2 years that we find out that they'll be on probation. By the way, when he gets down there to Ole Miss. But
they're already on probation. He can't make them worse.
He's gonna get. They're gonna have a probation. They're gonna have a probation extension, like Strasburg got his extension today. Speaking of knowing all the dead bodies and everything else, when does Ryan Tannehill turn back into Mark Fitzpatrick?
When he gets his contract extension this offseason.
They're really gonna hand the keys over to him, huh?
They're already talking about it. I got a friend that actually. I talked to a friend of mine that actually knows a lot about it, and I mean the rumors are already out there. It's gonna happen.
So where
It's
does
gonna happen.
where is Mariota getting the check from next year in the NFL?
I think he'll be in Seattle as a backup for Russell Wilson, to be honest.
Interesting. All right, man. Thanks.
Yes,
That
sir.
would be a nice fit though, Mike, because he kind of fits that style of play that what Seattle likes to do. So he would be. I think that'd be a nice fit for him. I want to go back to what Tony was talking about with the Saints, and you look at this team. You know, I was listening to some stuff and I was talking to some people about, Sean Payton. To me, Sean Payton gets a pass. To me, Sean Payton is the Lane Kiffin version of the NFL of an offensive coordinator, not the greatest coach. That's me talking, my opinion. And here's why. Why does he always seem to come up with these plays and put his team in a bad position where they got to get challenged by the officials, or the officials may call it for them or against them? You calling plays, I'm not a believer on if you have a great running game like the Ravens and you saw Shanahan did something different than what John Harbaugh did, which was run the ball, know who you are, run the ball 4 for 1 that game against San Francisco. Or if you can pass the ball, you got a future Hall of Famer in Drew Brees. Why are you trick playing on punts? If you're gonna go for it in 4 for 1, go for it on 4 for 1. You got one of the best quarterbacks. You got Michael Johnson. I mean, what are you doing? And so I don't get this guy. He gets a pass. Yeah, they won the Super Bowl. Ironically, they did trick play in there. They beat the Colts. But outside of that, what? Mike Tomlin's been to more Super Bowls than him. McCarthy won a Super Bowl with Green Bay. I mean, this guy, I think, gets a pass. I think he's vastly overrated. He's got talent. I give him credit. In that game, they lose their tight end and Cook. They make adjustments. They did. They surely embarrassed the 49ers defense, so they came with a good game plan. But he comes up with the stupidest calls at the worst times, and then he wants to blame it on the officials all the time. You can't keep doing that, especially if you're one of the teams that always seems to be mired in controversy when it comes down to these plays. Your thoughts?
Oh, he's a funny guy to me, but he had to be restrained by his. I don't know if you. They didn't show this on TV, but he had to be restrained by his assistant coaches this Sunday when he was going after the referees. Which I get it. Bad calls are going to happen, and don't start the woulda, shoulda, couldas. That's what I don't like. One thing I can say about head coach at TSU, Penny, he definitely does not do the woulda, shoulda, couldas. When somebody asks him about the foul situation and the disparity in the foul situation, he says, we need to learn how to play without fouling. He says that every single time. He may say something else behind the scenes, but in front of everybody else, he's going to say we need to learn to play without fouling every single time. And eventually you got to say, hey, we've got to figure out what we're doing instead of playing the blame game and blaming someone else. That's the thing.
Yeah. Hey, Mike.
Speaking of.
Hey, Mike, real quick, you hear about Robert Griffin getting into it with the head coach of the Buffalo Bills in the tunnel at halftime?
Oh, I didn't hear about that one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In Buffalo, the old antiquated stadium they got, both teams have to go in at the same time. Well, Robert Griffin got to yelling and shouting at the coach for the Buffalo Bills because it was on their radio station, on the XM radio, because I listened to it, and they said players got into it with the head coach of the Bills. I thought it was Bills players. No, it was Robert Griffin, another player. They had to have security restrain him.
Man, Robert Griffin got a little backbone about him then, didn't he? He's either quiet dude look at you like the dude from Get Out.
Well, he's in a good position. He's in a good position in Buffalo if God forbid something happened. I mean, in Baltimore, if God forbid something happened with Lamar Jackson. But it's funny. Reggie brings up Buffalo. The team above Buffalo is the Patriots, and I'll ask you all, starting with you, Mike. Who's to blame in New England? I mean, Tom Brady. Nick Anastas comes on this show, and for the last 2 years, he's been saying that Brady's on the decline. Brady's on the decline. Brady's on the decline. He's been saying it. To his credit, he's been saying this guy got happy feet. He's missing passes. That pick he threw, He would have never normally not thrown. He would have saw that guy coming over. He didn't see the safety jump. He didn't catch that at all. They can't run the ball consistently. The defense is starting to get a little burnt out because they're always on the field.
You mean,
and
the greatest defense in the history of mankind in Western civilization?
Exactly. And I think, too, what's laughable, and I was talking to Nick earlier today, I meant to hit you guys, that what's laughable is that the Patriot fans and the Patriots themselves are complaining about calls. Wow. Are you serious? You're complaining about calls with your history in the last 20 years? I mean, are you really complaining about calls? But what's the problem, Mike? Is it just Brady and not weapons? Because my thing is, real quick, let me finish this part. Screaming A says, well, Brady looks bad because he has no weapons. But if you don't have no weapons, that's when you should shine, a la Russell Wilson. If you don't have players, then that's when you show how good you are.
Well, remember LA early on. Well, Brady's winning without great players.
Right. Now he doesn't.
And now
he doesn't. Yeah, now he doesn't have enough talent around him. But I've been saying that for years. I've been saying it for years. T and Reggie would tell you if he did not have the talent around him, how many Super Bowls does this guy win? He's not the greatest thrower of all time. He's a smart quarterback. He makes the throw. I'm not getting taken away from, the plays that he's made. But what I'm saying is that I've been saying for years, if he doesn't have a Randy Moss and these guys like he doesn't have, you can't Edelman your way to the Super Bowl, by the way. If you don't have that, then, okay, let's see how good you are. Russell shows he's good. Russell shows that he can have a piece of gum and a bag of chips and still win a playoff game. This guy can't do it. And I've been saying it for years. So who's at fault at this point, Mike, in New England?
Well, it's a lot of fault to go around. Honestly, I'm still trying to figure out where Mohamed Sanu was like the big trade acquisition that was going to take their wide receiver core to the next level. Have they not noticed that he's a big old slot receiver at this point?
Exactly.
And basically all their receivers are slot receivers right now. So the blame goes there for thinking that was going to solve everything. Secondly, I'm going to blame Josh McDaniels. You know why I'm going to blame Josh McDaniels? Is because he's going away from what helps Brady. What helps Brady is pick plays and rub plays. I have not seen them run one yet. With that offensive talent that they have at the receiver position, you need to run pick and rub plays to get your receivers open, to help them get open. He has not helped them one time get open at all. And that's on him.
Hey, but Mike, all due respect, real quick, Mike, all due respect, the New England Patriots are getting caught filming the Cincinnati Bengals of all teams, and now they're turning the film. What the hamstring is that about? You mean these guys have fallen so far that they got to cheat on the Cincinnati Bengals, the next opponent?
Oh, man, I don't know what's going on there. But, my last blame was going to go to Brady because, did you see that fadeaway pass he threw at the end?
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, if you step into that pass and fire it in there, you might have scored a touchdown. But you throw a fadeaway and close your eyes like
how many times he was getting hit by them big old linemen? He was getting stretched out in that game yesterday. And, by the way, Mike, he made sure when they asked about that call about the kid that didn't have to put out of bounds, he made sure he ain't said nothing negative about the officials. But they have saved his behind for last year since he got hurt in KC with that knee injury.
But
what's funny is now he said that he wants to play till he's 45. The rest of the league is like saying, "Oh, please, play the 46 if you have to."
And we'll tee off on your whole ass.
I tell you, this was, I had when I saw that pass getting thrown, it's kind of like I heard "Wish Upon a Star" start playing, because I'm like, he surely was wishing that pass was completed because he surely had no hope when he threw it up in the air.
But and Mike, to your point, it goes to I don't care if you Johnny Unitas or Joe Montana. If you get hit enough, you're gonna get happy feet. And he is seeing stuff that's not there. I'm telling he is like you said, throwing off his back foot, stuff that he's never done because he's getting pounded. Amen. And the fact is that he is.
Ghosts in LA.
He see dead people. He see dead people.
Exactly.
I'm seeing ghosts out there. I'm seeing ghosts.
I'll be the one to say it. He sees films of dead people as a point right now.
But at the end of the day, they're in trouble. They're in trouble.
Yeah.
They're in a lot of trouble because they may not even be the best team in their division, which brings me to Buffalo and Baltimore. And Buffalo is just a frustrating team. They got a lot of great pieces on defense. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't get a lot of penalties and turnovers. Like, they don't make a lot of mistakes on offense. And Allen's been playing well. And then here you go. And I'm not blaming all this on him against Baltimore because Baltimore's been beating everybody. But what do you see with this Buffalo team? They go to Pittsburgh next week, and this was a winnable game. But again, the fairness, we've been saying that against Baltimore, everybody versus Baltimore for the last 8 weeks. Winnable games, Baltimore wins. We'll get to that in a second. But what about this Buffalo team?
Buffalo's confusing to me. They play well. They do a few things. They run the football well. Then they'll just crap it all out. I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? So honestly, I don't necessarily like their head coach to begin with. That's another thing. I don't necessarily like him. But, hey, he wins ball games, so I really can't just clown on him because he wins ball games. But, not Baltimore. Buffalo is a team that I think will get to the playoffs. Of course they'll get to the playoffs. But I don't expect them to pinch anybody in the playoffs, is all I can say.
Hey, Mike, can we say them beating Dallas was fool's gold? Because we know the Cowboys, they know that Dallas victory.
No. That was
a legitimate win.
Dallas. The thing is maybe Dallas ain't that good.
Right.
That's what I just said. Fool's gold. Dallas ain't that good. Hey, Jerry, you got Jerry on TV sitting at the bar with a drink in his hand.
Man.
That's all you need to know.
I think the frustrating thing about Buffalo is, like a lot of teams in this league, they can run the ball, but everybody's bastardized themselves into thinking they have to throw the ball 30, 40, 50 times a game to win. And I would think if any one of these – I think one of the reasons why Baltimore has set themselves apart is that even as explosive as Lamar is, they still make sure they run the ball. And, now it helps that they've got a great offensive line, but
they got 40 million tight ends.
but which gives them 3 more blockers as well.
That's right, exactly.
But see, that's the thing. This league has become so enamored with the passing game that I think if you get a couple of teams that just say, you know what, especially these cold weather teams, that if they run the ball, you can win the Super Bowl. And I think that's the reason. To me, that's the biggest problem with the Patriots is that they can't run the ball consistently. I know I sound like a broken record when I said it. Their best team was not the 18-1 team. It was not. The 17-1 team. Their best team was when they had Corey Dillon back there running the ball 5-6 yards a pop, and they had versatility in the offense. But once they decided that they were going to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game and feed Gronk and feed Edelman and feed Welker, but then once you take them out, they don't have anything else to fall back on. They haven't had a consistent running game since then. And I put that squarely on Belichick's plate list because much like how we get on Peyton and Eddie Haskell down there in Ole Miss about being great offensive coordinators, he's such a big defensive coordinator that I think he's been very negligent to the offense. And even with the Super Bowls that they've won, they haven't been dominant. They haven't been dominant because they don't run the ball. In this league, you still have to run the ball.
The only thing I would say to that, though, is if I had to, and I put this to T and Reggie a couple of weeks ago, and I'll say these to you, Mike, if I had to choose between the cheater and the whiner, and who is outside of the NFL helping them with calls. That's why I thought it was so laughable for the Patriot fans and the Patriots to say they got robbed. But if I had to point it down between Belichick and Brady, I'd have to give it to Belichick, because Belichick has been winning games when Brady was hurt. And even before their struggles, these last 3, 4, 5 games, they were still in first place. They're still 9-2, 10-2 at the time. And we see what Mr. Brady can't do without talent. He got no talent, and it's showing. He hadn't thrown for his passer ratings down under 50%, under 200 yards. I mean, throwing some picks that you would never see him do. That's on Brady. You got to have some talent around him to win. They don't have any talent, and they're not winning. And it just looks clear to me that if it was out of the two, the coach is the one that's been sustaining the quarterback, not the other way.
Hey, don't forget the one been cheating too now. Again, the same coach was cheating so bad they had to burn the film. And I go back to what I said before. They had a person there at the Cincinnati Bengals game filming the Bengals and the Browns. They were filming the Bengals coaching on the sideline. Come on, guys. We've seen it back before.
I got that, but I'm saying though,
they got to make sure to win that game.
but what I'm saying though, as Tony pointed out, they brought in a Corey Dillon. They brought in a Randy Moss. They bring in these guys. Brady ain't bringing them in. The coach and management is bringing them in. And Brady's shown he can't win without the talent. It's simple as that. He can't lead this team. We'll see, Mike, but he has not led this team.
He kind of. I would say this: at his age, he definitely can't lead a team. And I would say that it kind of reminds me of. I don't know if you read comic books, but it kind of reminds me of Wolverine. Wolverine could hold his own and not really be a part of the X-Men, but still be a part of them. But when he became an old man, he was pretty pathetic. Yeah, he was. He was pretty pathetic, and he couldn't really do anything. He couldn't really do anything. He couldn't really regenerate very much or anything at all. So I feel like we're watching Old Man Logan when we're watching Tom Brady right now.
Mm-hmm. And he wants to play till he's 45.
No, he don't. The league does, though. The league wants him to. Man, they're enjoying this. Like, all the times you got me, Brady, I got you now.
I don't know if
Brady.
I don't know if the league wants this Brady to play to 45 if he playing like this. But bring it. Speaking of a wild guy, a must-see guy, that'd be Lamar Jackson. Is it safe to say that? Is it safe to say that he's MVP number one? Number two, as far as his team, and by the way, their defense gets zero credit in my opinion. I mean, they blitz more than half. Their defense is optimistic. They make plays, and it's all about, all what Lamar and I get that. But that defense has been really good. But if you look at them, all comers, they beat the 49ers. They beat the Seahawks. They beat who else did they beat? I mean, look at the 8-9 games they won in a row. They've not only beat some teams, they beat Houston. They beat the Patriots. They're beating all comers. And I'm a Steelers fan, and I'm hating it, but I got to give credit where credit is due.
And they beat the Steelers too, LA. Yeah. They beat the Steelers too.
Well, thank you, Ray. But thank you, Reggie, for reminding me of that. Oh, by the way, we lost in overtime. Anyway. So anyway,
loss is a loss.
And we'll get beaten Baltimore too, and that's the cap, brother. I got enough for you. Get beaten Baltimore.
You're not getting a point just for losing in overtime. That's hockey. It's wrong sport.
And you're going to get beat again when you go to Pittsburgh. We can ping pong all day. Keep it going.
Anyway, Mike Patton, you and I have a conversation. So
like Donald Trump now, don't you?
So listen.
Impeach LA.
Listen. Is it safe to say that Lamar Jackson is
brother, the law control the show.
and Baltimore is the best team in football?
But it's not wrong to say any of those things right now. Baltimore is the best team in football right now. and Lamar Jackson is must-see TV, and he's the MVP. I mean, honestly, I could watch him play at all times because you never know what to expect. I mean, he does things with his arm. I mean, the 49ers, I will say this, the 49ers made him win with his arm a little bit more than what he wanted to probably, but he can do it. That's the thing. And the thing is, it showed in that game that he can win games making throws because crucial throws he had to make in that game, especially when he was rolling out and he hit his tight end on the run kind of against the grain. That was a huge play for them to set up to win the game. But I will say this, though. The 49ers did a good and bad thing. They did a good thing. They showed the NFL how to actually execute to maybe slow that offense down. But the bad thing is no other defenses in the NFL can do that. So
right,
yeah.
Don't forget the elements too that day too.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Hey, but Mike, real quick, have you ever seen somebody grab a guy face mask in that Saints and 49er game and bulldog the man for 5 yards? I'm like, what the ham sandwich this guy thinking about? He trying to rip the guy's head off. And I'm waiting for the fish not to call flag.
I'll tell you what, Kittle, man, if you see that guy like just on the sideline, stuff like that, his eyes are literally like wide open at all times. It's like he drank a 5-hour energy before the game and just decided to go out and play. And he plays with fire and aggression every single time. It's insane. I've never seen a tight end play like with his hair on fire like he does.
I tell you what, the Ravens are so good because they get you on these one-on-one matchups, and then you left to try to stop Lamar on your own. I think the key was, and Mike, you and I talked about it, with D4 being out in that game, hurt them. D4, he's athletic. He might have been able a little bit to slow him down, but that game with the 49ers. But if you get this dude one-on-one, if everybody's matched up, and it's just you and Lamar, that's a wrap. That's the problem. They gotta be. But the key to him, like you said, and T said, loss is law. They forced him to throw it, and guess what? He threw it, and was good at it. So they're going to be a tough out, very tough out for anybody, AFC, NFC, Super Bowl, if they get there. All right, let's look at some of these games this week before we get out of here and get your thoughts about it quickly because we're running out of time. Start with you. Mike, I'm not even going to go Jets-Ravens because I believe we all believe the Ravens will win at home easily. When you look at Texans-Titans, Mike, start with you. I mean, say what you want, but, hey, Tannehill, they dropped 42 on the Raiders. I know the Raiders aren't that good, but they are playing lights out offensively, defensively. They're getting after people. They're making plays. Do they go? Do Texans go on the road to beat Tennessee? I know the Texans laid an egg, maybe looking forward to Tennessee, and blew it to Denver. Who wins this game?
I will say this: the Titans have won 6 of their last 7 games. Their offense is looking better. Jonnu Smith is playing well, and even though Delaney Walker is not there, the offense is still getting things done in the passing game with A.J. Brown and Corey Davis. Houston, they definitely got a problem, especially getting beat down by Denver of all teams. But, yeah, I think the Titans go ahead and win their 7th in 8 games and continue the momentum going. I mean, this is unbelievable. You couldn't write this for Disney, how Ryan Tannehill is playing for the Titans.
Yeah. He's one of the big stories of this team and this season in the NFL. The way he's playing, just lights out, man. No little mistakes, very little, and they believe in him in that huddle. That's the important thing. Tony, same thing. Texans laid an egg. I don't even know what happened in that game again, other than they slept on the Broncos with this Drew Lock rookie kid. They go into Texas. They like Buffalo. You can't kind of figure them out. One week they're destroying the Patriots. The next week they're losing to Denver. Who wins this game, T?
I'm picking the Texans out of spite.
Let it go. Let it go. Let it go.
Oh no,
Let
no,
it go.
no. Ryan Tannehill's a fraud. Ryan Tannehill's gonna be more naked. Ryan Tannehill's gonna be more naked than the Emperor's new clothes in another year or so.
I thought you was gonna say more naked than Kim Kardashian used to be. But
you're going to the assumption that she actually wears clothes in public, but she doesn't.
Oh, jeez. The views expressed here.
Those of yours or Kanye West.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Reggie, who was it? Texas.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Deshaun gonna get back on it. It wasn't his fault anyway. This past game against Denver, their defense was absolutely atrocious. Not a lot of great games this week. Bears, Packers, Mike. Bears been looking better, and finally, let the kid run the ball, get him some rhythm, and then play action. That's what they've been doing, and the offense seems to be playing a lot better. Defense is going to be the defense. The Packers, to me, are the best 10-3 team that has struggled offensively against teams that they should. They had no business. Washington had no business being in that game last week, but they were.
Absolutely
so,
not.
so can Chicago go on the road and beat Green Bay, or Green Bay hold serve at home?
I think Green Bay's going to hold serve at home. I think they will definitely do what they do, and they'll continue to win, but I very much have concerns about that offense. They need to get that worked out. The running game saved them on Sunday.
Yeah. Aaron Jones, he looks like he's the real deal, and they still don't have their wide receiving, their passing game right. You're right, and they got issues like always on that offensive line because Aaron Rodgers still has to roll a zillion yards before he throws it. It seems like that. Chicago at Green Bay. Who wins this game?
I can't say nobody, right?
Check all the above.
yeah. You know what? I'll go with the international porn star in Green Bay.
Okay. Hey, it's funny, Reg. Before you pick that, the rumor is Mike McCarthy might be getting back in the NFL. Which I thought,
no.
I mean,
and guess where he might go to?
And guess where he might go
to? He might mess around and be down. He might mess around and be in Carolina too. So, you know, they think about him too down there.
I heard Mike McCarthy might be the new coach of some team up north. I don't know. It might be the Giants.
Put it this way:
no, he wants to go to Philly.
Guys, if he goes to either the New Jersey teams, then he still won't be in the NFL.
Ooh.
I gotta write that down. Only team is he wants to be in the NFL.
Well, look, all my all 2 and 3 of my Steeler and Giant fans, respectively, I do apologize for what T has said about Jetson.
Shots fired across the bow.
You don't deny it, but you do regret it, though. I guess. Right?
Oh man. Mike, I bring up Vikings Chargers, not so much the Chargers because they're not going anywhere, but the Vikings always play really well. I think they're undefeated at home, and then there's Kirk Cousins on the road. And this team, if you saw what the Rams did, we'll get to that. What they did the last couple of weeks, I thought the Cardinals they blow them out, but they look really good. The play action pass there. Rams, we'll get to that in a second, but the Vikings got to keep winning because here comes the Rams and everybody behind them. So, do they go on the road and easily take care of the Chargers?
So you said the Rams are playing the Chargers?
No. I meant I was bringing up the Rams. I'm bringing up the Rams because the Rams behind. No, the Rams are behind the Vikings, so I said the Vikings need to keep winning. Will they go on the road?
I'm sorry.
And they struggle on the road, is what I'm saying.
Okay, I got you. I don't know where I got the Rams playing the Chargers. Anyway, I would say that the Vikings are going to win that game, even if they get down by 20 points in the third quarter, because the Chargers always figure out a way to lose a game this year, especially. They always lose close games. It'll probably be a game where they lose about 4 points.
Chad said the brother can't make a judgment. What are you trying to say, man?
No, I'm just,
Actually,
I'm
you
just,
tell
I'm
the
just,
truth.
I'm,
Yeah, probably
I'm
an
just,
adjustment.
I'm just saying that hey, all them close games they won last year, they're losing all of them this year. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
All I'm saying is he's having problem making adjustments. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, Reggie. But Reggie, the Phillip Rivers has been garbage this year for a lot of times, and I hope he doesn't get this guy fired. But it's time for him to step away. I mean, he's been struggling.
He
Reggie.
got too many babies to feed. He ain't going nowhere. All them chitlins he got, he gonna be keep playing till he's 40.
Well,
Yeah.
he might mess around and make another one this offseason. You know, he might think about it too hard.
That's like
Well,
a little vitamin D.
Hey, and T, hey, when he retires, he played at NC State. Maybe he comes home and coaches that team because that football team has been good in quite some time. But I love the brother, like you said. I just think that I hope they give him an opportunity to build this thing. But Phillip Rivers has been horrible. They've had a lot of injuries, and here comes the Vikings.
So this game is being played in San Diego, right?
Correct, Los Angeles. Yep.
So technically, this is a home
in the
game.
bandbox.
So basically, this is a home game for the Vikings. So I'm going with the Vikings.
It would be more purple out there than it will be blue and white.
Man.
Yeah. Mike, when you look at, I mentioned the Rams, they've been playing really well. Again, mentioning the play action, they're getting everybody involved. Todd Gurley looks good and fresh now, like they gave him that time off or whatever. Against the Cowboy team, basically at the time of this broadcast, is still in first place over the Eagles. So
don't waste your time, LA. Please. Come on.
Listen.
Don't waste your time.
If nothing else, Mike. Hold on. If nothing else, Mike, that Prescott, it really hasn't been his fault. He missed some throws a little bit here and there, and that's important. But he's doing what he's supposed to do. But it's the deer caught the headlight guy, the coach, that just makes horrible calls, and he doesn't have a clue what he's doing. So do the Rams go on the road and win?
The Rams are playing against who again? I'm sorry.
The Rams go on the road and
Jerry Jones is mad on.
No.
That's the thing. It's
Hold
Jerry
on.
Jones, Coach Jerry.
Hold on. So the Rams playing well. Do they go on the road and continue to put pressure on the Vikings, that sixth seed, or does Dallas right the ship in this?
Hold on. We talking about Dallas? Ooh.
Thank you.
Man, Dallas about to catch these
You talking
L's.
about practice?
Dallas about to catch these L's.
Okay, there we go.
That's what they about to do. They about to catch these L's, and these Rams are gonna win. Man, I thought you were talking about I thought you were gonna say something about the Eagles playing somebody tonight. I was like, man, look,
Thank you.
they don't call them missed catches no more. They don't call them drop passes anymore. They call them Aguilars, y'all. Did y'all know
that? Oh man!
Shots fired across the bow. Shots fired.
Wow. Wow. If Orlando was on the phone right now, Orlando Hughes is listening somewhere right now and saying, "I'm going to get that Mike Patton."
Orlando Hughes is around too.
and T, he's an Eagle homer. The Eagles can do no wrong. The Sixers can do no wrong. The Phillies even can't do no wrong. He is a Philly homer, but that's a whole nother story.
I don't think he's drinking the Kool-Aid no more, LA. I don't think he's drinking it no more. Brother, a little upset.
Well, no, he is T because look, quite frankly, and I told him this. I can say this on the air. When the Philly teams are losing, Orlando's on assignment for the Batchelor News Radio Show. But when they're winning,
well, he's been on the sound for a minute. Then he's been on the sound for a long time.
At this point, we may have a new president before we see him again.
Oh man! So yeah, I teased him. I said, what assignment are you on? What assignment are you on for the show? Because you haven't been on in a while because of the Eagles struggling. But I digress. Final game: Colts at the Saints. Saints coming off this loss. Mike, the Colts. I would love to pick them, man, but they're so banged up, and they at the wrong time. Like their wide receiver core is decimated. They got injuries on their defensive side too. Can they go in there and beat the Saints that just lost a tough game to the 49ers?
Nah, they gonna catch these L's. That's what they gonna do. They done. The Colts are done. They are DONE done.
Wow.
Mike, you've been watching too much wrestling, Mike. You gotta let wrestling go. You've been watching too much wrestling, Mike.
Nah, man, I've been watching too much action movies, man. I need to watch a little Denzel so I can get a little inspiration on it, saying, King Kong and all them ain't got nothing on me. Nah, Stephen A. Smith ain't got nothing on me. There we go.
That's right.
I need to watch.
That's right. Tell it, Mike. Tell it, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
I'll put cases on all you.
No, Mike. You ought to set the bar. Trust me, you ought to set the bar a little. Yeah. You ought to set the bar a little higher within the screaming A. Trust me.
Oh man.
Hey, but look, I'll take all three of y'all and every day and 15 times on Sunday before I go screaming A. So that's real talk. Let me ask you.
By the way, I'll go with the Colts strictly because they finally sitting down Adam Vinatieri. Thank God.
Oh man.
Yeah. That was a bad knee. Hey, we got a brother quarterback. I'm going with the Colts. We got a brother quarterback.
That brings up a quick question, guys. Before we get out of here, we're running out of time. Real quick, let me ask you: which seems like a phony situation, or both? Start with you, Mike. The Giants quarterback situation, maybe. I know he sprained his ankle. Is it that severe, or do they want to put Eli in to finish out his career? Or the Vinatieri injury, where allegedly he's hurt, so they don't want to embarrass him. He finishes out the rest of the year, no more missed field goals, and he retires.
How many games he lost? Because he missed them field goals? How many?
This ain't the Giants' last home game, so I kind of buy the Vinatieri is kind of fake it to the end of the year, probably. I don't know, but man, he's been awful this year. But he has. He couldn't be great forever, and they always say greatness and in the worst parts of your career can come pretty quickly, and they surely did with him.
Yeah,
Father Time's undefeated. Father Time's undefeated.
Yeah,
and T, but T, if you look at it, the Giants. I've heard a scenario of let the guy go out. In both cases, these guys, have been, maybe Vinatieri more great than Eli. Eli's been opportunistic and great when he needed to be, but Vinatieri's been great. So both of these guys, you would think that these organizations might want to say, okay, let them go out kind of the way they want to go out. Don't cut them. They don't release them. Don't do any of that stuff. Do you see both or one or none in those scenarios?
Adam Vinatieri is Franco Harris in a Seattle Seahawks uniform.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Only my man that. Oh, wow. God, that was horrible.
You're going to say Joe Namath in a Ram uniform, or better is John Unitas in a San Diego Chargers uniform. My God.
Yeah. Sometimes when your mama calls you to go in early, you should just go in early. So,
well.
See, now you remind me of Willie Mays with a Mets uniform.
I was going to say Willie Mays.
Yeah, it's Kareem the last 2 years. Kareem the last 2 years. In LA. Yeah, I mean Elijah Wan finishing his career with the the Raptors.
Right.
I think
it was the Raptors. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good look. I mean. The funny thing is, I think if you put Eli at a decent place, he may be able to squeeze maybe another year out of him. But with a kicker, it's different, especially when you realize that he's already. I mean, basically he's already in the Hall of Fame. It's just kind of right now. Right now, it's just sort of embarrassing.
And the Jaguars pick him up too? How about the Jaguars? They pick up Eli next year?
No, not when they got that other international point.
No, they paid. They paid Nick Foles. No, they paid Nick Foles all that money. They are definitely. He's not going anywhere.
He can go to Denver Broncos. He can go to Denver with the rest of the Washington people.
Well, they're banking on.
Think about it, guys. Old quarterbacks used to always, retire and go to Florida. Now they go play for the Broncos.
Right, Mike. Do they
Right.
do organizations? Do players deserve the right, especially if they've been with one team? And I'll let you go. One team for a long time. Patriots, in this case, he was Patriots coach. Do they deserve the right or the courtesy, I guess maybe the better word, to go out the way they want to? Giants with Eli and that kind of thing, based on what they brought to that organization. Giants probably a better example because Eli's just been with them. Does he deserve the right to go out, the courtesy to go out the way he wants based on the Super Bowl wins and all that kind of stuff?
No, he doesn't deserve to go out the way he wants. He doesn't, because it's a business, and it's about wins and losses, and that's all that any NFL team sees. They don't see memories and things like that. They may have had a mutiny if they'd have cut or let go of Eli Manning, but do they really care? No, because eventually those same fans are going to be right there watching. So it's all about the fans and the fan reaction. That's probably the only thing that kept Eli Manning there this year, just to be honest.
Absolute final question. Are the Lakers the best team in basketball right now? 21-3. They got the two guys. I think Reggie said, I know you answered, but Reggie said, look, as great as they are, their bench is going to be a problem down the stretch for me. But are they the best team? Yeah, but the bench can't defend. They can't defend.
I'll say this. I'll say this. Hold on. I'll say this. Rondo can shoot. Actually, this year, if you look at his numbers, he's actually shooting like 40% in three-point range. As unbelievable as it sounds, he is. Let's see. They got Troy Daniels coming in off the bench, which I don't know if anybody remembers, but he hit like 9 threes one game when he was playing for Phoenix, and he's now like over almost 40% three-point shooter his whole career. So they've got.
But Mike, Rondo shooting 40% at three-pointer after 24 games is going to be different probably when they get the matchup zones and things, and then in the playoffs, and he's got to make that shot when the money's on the line.
I'll say this. I would say that normally in the past, yeah, you'd be correct, but I don't see that this year. I actually look, and it's like it just looks different coming off his hand than it has in the entire career. And what I will say this is, though, that, as the season goes on, you always got to remember they have a sixth man in Kyle Kuzma that's still getting himself together. As the season goes on, he's just going to get better and better. So that's their sixth man in their offense off the bench right there. There you go. And then also you got to remember that DeMarcus Cousins, even though people have said he's out for the season, he actually can come back before the season is over. He can be healthy and ready to go in April. If he comes back, then it gives you another big man to throw into the rotation with Dwight, with JaVale McGee. Both of those guys together are averaging 24 points and 10 rebounds a game. Yeah, they're doing good. And the thing, I'll give you this about Philly. Since everybody's talking about Philly and things like that, name me their two best three-point shooters. Give me those.
Yeah.
Tell me that. And they're starting five. Tell me who their two best three-point shooters.
World Be Free and
I get you. A point taken. I got that, and I'm not saying that in terms of Philly at all. My concern, if I'm a Laker fan, though, is that you have to, the big fella has to stay healthy. He hasn't proven to do that, and I said that before when they got him. I said, look, this team could be really good, but if Davis goes down, that's a whole another thing. And that's my concern if I'm a Laker fan, because he hasn't been healthy his entire career, a whole season. And that's been his MO. So if he goes, that's the only thing. You know what I mean? Outside of that,
no, I'm not qualified to be in this conversation because of the team I root for.
Well, man, hey, if we change the conversation to who's going to be the worst of the worst, we could talk about Washington, New York. We could talk about Orlando. I mean, we could keep going on. You could talk about my Bulls too, because we are super bad. Can we fire Gar Pax? Can we fire that connection? Just fire them. Get rid of the head coach, which he's actually feuding with his players right now. I don't know if y'all know that, but yeah. The coach, nobody likes the coach.
He's feuding with him from day one, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. He has been. And he put a big old time clock in their workout facility. He put a big old time clock in there about them checking in for work. I'm like, come on, man.
Wow.
Put a time clock in there for the second. Yeah. Man, I know I ain't hate you now.
Hey,
not only that, but he's probably pissed off Flavor Flav and all of this mess too.
Right, and you let a Golden State Warrior team with Draymond Green only, essentially, really. I mean, a couple others go in there and beat you the other night. So it's definitely a struggle in Chicago right now. But we'll see what happens. Mike, appreciate you. Let people know where they can find you before you go. Thanks for staying on as long as you have, sir.
Yeah, the car loves me right now. You know, I'm just looking out into the night. But yeah, you can find me on let's see, what is it? The Nashville Voice, thevoicenashville.com. I just might be covering the Music City Bowl this year, so you might find me there too. And let's see, where else? You might find me a Pro Player Insiders, 3-point conversion. I don't know. I'm pretty much a jack of all trades. And, you know, that's what I can say.
AKA 27 jump. That's what you got. 27 jump.
No. AKA Jamaica Man. AKA Jamaica Man. There you go.
I didn't want to go culturally. I just said 27 job, but I get you. So, Mike, I appreciate you, man. Be well now.
One job.
30 jobs.
Jamaican, man. He's Jamaican. He got 30 jobs and still looking. He's a Jamaican.
Yeah, this is true.
Mike, I appreciate you, man. Be well.
Take care. Yeah, Mike. I will, man. I'm going to Jamaica, New York after this.
There you go.
All right.
Have fun. We'll talk. Mike Patton, sportsawakening.com, and the Village, the Nashville Voice, and of course you can find him on 87 trillion other media outlets that he does. Commentary and columns on. Guys, before we get out of here, just to piggyback on a couple of things. Early in the year, Reggie, and the HBCU year in basketball, things are going to play each other out. We don't know who's going to be in the big tournament in February. In the CIAA, and certainly in March with the MEAC and SWAC SIACs, but at least in the conference that you and I specifically cover the most in the CIAA, you got your usual suspects there. I mean, you expect Lonnie Blow and that team to do really well. The Virginia teams, period, are going to do well. I think Shaw is going to do a better, if I'm not mistaken, in the finals last year. So what do you see in the North and Southern Division thus far?
I think it's Bowie's to win, and the Union's going to take a nosedive. I think Virginia State's going to start on their toes. The only thing in the North is going to be the ladies of Virginia Union and the ladies of Bowie fighting it out. And Livingstone, don't sleep on Livingstone. Livingstone got something for them in the South.
Guys, you're forgetting about Fayetteville.
Yeah. Yeah, Fayetteville. I mean, but I do like what Reg is saying about Livingstone. They always can score. They always got some guys that can light it up. Bowie and shame on me for getting them and the fact that they'll be there. But again, and I'm not – look, we have – the three of us, we've had coaches on all the time on this broadcast. But it's something about Virginia State that always seems they're always there. They defend. He's always kind of long where he's got some players there, and it's always a tough place to play, and they play well on the road. So from the northern perspective, I do like Virginia. I do like Bowie. In the South, I don't know, T, what to make of Winston. I was talking with their former coach, and I don't know, what's going on with that program. As you mentioned Fayetteville State, I like Livingstone, but I don't know what's going on with Winston. I don't know, where they are in the recruiting and if they can get back on the right track.
It may take it may take them another year. They may have to, maybe by the end of the year they may be better. But yeah, I'm willing to bet you if you ask the coach, he's probably saying, I'm not really sure what direction this team's going into. But, whenever they go into conference play, that's always a great equalizer. And I mean, they've got I think they've got at least 1 or 2 conference wins now. I think they won 1 conference game so far, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
And then I got an email saying, "Don't forget about St. Aug." I don't know enough about St. Aug to know. I know Shaw got some guys who can ball out, who can shoot, but and it's always a big battle between St. Aug and Shaw, whether it be football or basketball, about who's going to be the best. I kind of lean towards Shaw right now, but I don't know enough about St. Aug to wonder. But it seems as though, like the last few years, that the North might be a little more top-happy, and the South a little more, let's say, balanced, T.
Yeah. You know what? Especially with the CIAA, I always like to wait for conference play because right now you're getting a mix of, you're getting some conference games, and then you're getting a lot of these holiday tournaments where teams get a chance to, see what they have. The only reason why I mentioned Fayetteville is because they've been in a lot of national rankings, and I think people have sort of been sleeping on them. But yeah, it's all this does is just build up for the tournament, which is always is always going to be fun to watch.
Right, and so we'll watch, and as you said, the interesting thing about the HBCUs is they'll play a couple of games outside of the division. Interconference stuff early, and then they'll go back to the old stuff, and then they play their regular conference. I think that's a good way to go because you get a feel of what the talent and the teams in the HBCUs in your conference are before you go into your division play, which is different from the actual conference play, as you know. If you're in the North, if you're in the North, you play a team in the South, and you get a little feel, and then, of course, the next month or two, you're actually playing teams in your division, which is good. So it's always exciting. I hope and pray that, you and I can experience that this year and first time in a while. But we'll see what happens. Interesting enough, my son and the Durham Eagles will be playing their semifinal game tomorrow, the time of this broadcast. Tomorrow night we win, and we will be playing in a championship on Friday. So
now is there any rumor that they'll replace whoever wins the NFC East in the playoffs this year?
Look, the way this Eagle team, the Durham Eagles are playing, they're better than the Philadelphia Eagles. So they could probably beat every team in the NFC East. The way they're playing, their defense is just swarming, and their offense. You talk about, I love it. They ground and pound, man. It's all about the running game. And they're virtually unstoppable.
A team running the ball, what a concept in modern day football.
Exactly, right. Well, Coach preaches that, and that's what we're doing, and hopefully and prayerfully we're gonna take it home and come back from Florida with a championship. I see my sister Rose up there. Big ups, love you. That's gonna do it for us. T, I appreciate you as always, man, making the Monday Madness happen. As always, love you, man, and we will talk with you next week, sir.
Take care now.
Yeah, man. Tony T. Mac McLean, thanks to Reggie Howell. Thanks to Mike Patton from the Nashville Voice, Sports Awakening. Thanks to Dr. Lee Bell joining us as well. If you missed any part of the broadcast, do go to our website. The Batchelor News Radio Network is the website, but the actual web address is the Batchelor Pad Network, the Batchelor Pad Network, Batchelor with a T, B-A-T, the Batchelor Pad Network. When you're there, click on and listen live. Follow us on Facebook at Pad Nation, and on Twitter, Pad Nation 2, number 2, on LinkedIn. And you can listen to the broadcast also on TuneIn.com and all the other media outlets. Enjoy. We'll talk with you tomorrow on the Batchelor News Radio Show.
This Christmas
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house...
Hold it now, wait, hold it. That's played out. Hit it!
Don't you give me all that jive about things you wrote before I was alive. Cause this ain't 1823, ain't even 1970. Now I'm the guy named Curtis Blow, and Christmas is one thing I know. So every year, just about this time, I celebrate it with a rhyme. Gonna shake it, gonna bake it, gonna make it good. Gonna rock it through your neighborhood. Gonna read, gonna sing it till it's understood. My rapping about to happen like a knee you been slapping or a toe you been tapping on a hunk of wood. Bought a red suited dude with a friendly attitude and a sleigh full of goodies for the people on the block. Got a long white beard, maybe looks kinda weird, and if you ever see him, he can give you quite a shock. Now people, let me tell you about last year when the dude came flying over here. Well, the hawk was out, snow was on the ground. Folks stayed in to party down. The beat was thumping on the box, and I was dancing in my socks. And the drummer played at a solid pace, and the taste of the bass was in my face. And the guitar player laid down the heavy layer of the funky junky rhythm of the disco beat. And the guy with the 88 started to participate, and I could sure appreciate a sound so sweet. We were all in the mood, so we had a little food and a joke and a smoke and a little bit of wine. When I thought I heard a hoop on the top of the roof, could it be it wasn't me? I was feeling super fine, so I went to the attic where I thought I heard the static on the chance that the fans put the body breaking this. Put the noise on the top with the reindeer top, just a trick, St. Nick, and I let the sucker in. Holy moly, you got a lot of wishes on your chinny chin chin. He allowed, he was proud of the hairy little crowd on the point of the door where the skin should have been. Get fool for a fool, going out every you for a day on the sleigh when the cold winds blow. Through the beer may be weird, but I'll never have a cheer, cause it's warm in the storm when it's 10 below. I said, yo, God, it's cold tonight, but can you stop for a drop before you go? He said, why not? If the music's hot and I'll chance to dance beneath the mistletoe. So he went downstairs and forgot his scare, and he rocked the spot and danced like a pro. And every young girl tried to rock his world, but he booked the yogi till he had to go. And before he went, this fine old gent bought a gift with a zip to his big red bag. In the top or the bottom, he reached in and got toy forms and forms for the girl's glad rag. And the grown-ups got some presents too, a new TV and a stereo. I knew Seville bought as blue as the sky, the best that money couldn't buy, cause money could never ever buy the feeling, the one that comes from not concealing the way you feel about your friends. And this is how the story ends. The dude in red back at the pole up north where everything is cold, but if he were right here tonight, he'd say Merry Christmas, and to all a good night.
Well, I'm terribly sorry. I don't know what you mean. What did you say your name was?
I see that it's not clear for you good buddies to clean out your ears. Listen very close while I pop more game, cause my name in the Hall of Fame. The K-U-R, the T-I-S, the first is the best, I must confess. The B-L-O and the W, I make you wanna catch the Boogaloo crew. Now if your name is Annie, get up off your fanny. If your name is Ty, get off your backside. If your name is Steve, you don't need a seat, cause I'm Curtis Blow and I'm on the go. I'm rocking to the rhythms in stereo. Now just throw your hands in the air and rave on like you just don't care. If you're ready like Freddie to rock real steady, somebody say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh young ladies, all the ladies in the house say ow. And you don't stop, come on, come on, come on, let me see you rock. I get down, stop messing around when Curtis Blow is in your town. I'm Curtis Blow on the microphone. A place called Harlem was my home. I was rocking one day, it started to shake, and sung to me, I like an earthquake. I packed my bag, I said goodbye. I kissed my woman and I started to fly. I came to Earth by a meteorite to the rock. Now the people in the back, if you're not the whack, say. The people in the front, if you want to bump, say. The people in the middle, if you want to wiggle, say. And the people on the side, if you want to slide, say. Not a preacher or a teacher or an electrician, a fighter or a writer or a politician. The man with the key to your ignition. Curtis Rowe is competition. Young ladies, shock the house. That's the young ladies, shock the house. Now just throw your hands in the air and wave it like you just don't care. If y'all really